Hello to our fellow running nerds, and welcome to another episode of Running Book Reviews. For anyone that is listening to us for the first time, you have come to the right place for your information about that running book that hasn't quite made it to your Amazon cart yet, but is in your wish list. So my name is Liz, and I'm with my co-host and training partner, Alan, to discuss today's book, Happy Runner by David and Megan Roche.
Yep, happy runner, and I'm pretty excited to talk about this because this is one book that got me my juices flowing. So I think this is going to be a good episode.
So the first things we should just give a shout out to the publisher of Happy Runner. So Human Kinetics.
Yeah, thanks for the book. But as always, we have to say disclaimer. Whatever we say is our own views, and we will not be influenced in any way by the fact that we had a review copy from Human Kinetics, but we do thank them for that. It's much appreciated. Okay, off we go.
Yeah, so I guess we should start with a little background about David and Megan. I know that Megan has an MD at the end of her name because she's a doctor, and
Yeah,
they talk about her.
the last time I saw them on YouTube, Megan was actually doing some exams. So I don't know whether she's doing some advanced exams, but she's an MD. So, and David is also highly qualified from an education point of view. I think he might have a legal degree or something.
Yep,
Like that.
that's it. Yeah, he studied law, and then I believe he realized that that was not for him, which was sort of part of his process, and talks a little bit about that in the book, but it's not really a big section.
And both of them are very, very accomplished runners. They've both been in Team USA for trail running. Both have very distinguished pedigrees in running. So you'd think, and the cool thing that I find, you'd think, okay, they're educated to a very high degree. They're super duper runners. They're an absolute power couple. So you'd think they'd be, they were dominant, I don't know, a Cardassian or something like that. But actually, they're a couple of introverted nerds to some extent, I think, aren't they? When you look at their sort of intro into the book,
Yep.
very shy. They talk about meeting each other and being really shy, but being sort of super introvert and finding each other to have common interests, but in a very quiet sort of way, not sort of full of confidence and full of publicity and performance, but in a very quiet, unassuming sort of way.
Yeah, and I've seen since reading the book, I've seen a few of the videos that David Roche has, because he's also a coach. They have their own little I say a little club, but actually they have a lot of big names in that club. So he's a coach for a lot of athletes that made it achieved really big things. And
you're talking about SWAP.
Yes,
SWAP.
Yeah,
Some
and I can't
work, all play.
Oh, see, I couldn't remember what the acronym was.
Some work, all play. And it embodies their philosophy, I think, some work, all play, in terms of, we'll see as we talk through the book, they emphasize the fact that it should be fun, you should enjoy the process, that it should be all play and fun. And my first reaction on reading about that at the start of the book was, it sounds a bit soft. It sounds a bit, I guess this is the macho male type of attitude towards this. Sounds a bit soft and woolly, warm and cuddly. But in fact, then you look at their organization, their SWAP group, and you look at some of the people who are part of that, and you go, oh, this person, whoa! Oh, that person, whoa! And then there are dozens and dozens of accomplished athletes with phenomenal pedigrees listed as part of their group. So this is clearly an effective, impressive program that these guys have got going.
Yeah. So well, I mean, I had the advantage of reading the book kind of after you, so I sort of already knew that like it was pretty good. So, but yeah, I have to say that with the title and the way that it starts out, the whole first part of the book. So the book has basically two parts. The part one is the happy runner rules, and there's a lot of like oh, you need to be happy and to be a good runner kind of thing, with a big focus on the happy. But then, the second part is more about the training principles. But they do, in the first part they talk about being a happy runner, but he talks a lot about knowing your why, like why are you doing it, like what brings you to running, because you really need to enjoy the process, not just the achievement of goals. And that message is pretty it's pretty fundamental. I mean, that's what every coach will tell you to do. So he's his message is good, but in between there's a lot of you are awesome and everybody's awesome
Yeah,
and everyone is awesome,
yeah,
and he talks a
yeah.
lot about his dog and how we should all be like puppies and have
Sort of
exclamations at the end.
unconditionally enthusiastic, like a dog would be. Yeah,
Yes, with unconditional love for
yeah.
yourself and everyone around you, basically.
But once I got my mind around the fact that this is serious, going to deliver the goods, that made reading the book fun. I thought. Um,
Hmm.
in the rules, he starts with embrace the process, and you go, okay, yeah, it's not just about a race; it's about all the training. And if you like doing the training, and you feel you like doing the training, he's going to teach you how to like doing the training. That's going to help. And I've applied some of it just in the last few months and found it seems to work. Maybe it's a combination of other things, um, but instead of saying, embrace the process, he'll, and we're talking in terms of he, but it's written by both him and Megan. Um,
Hmm.
they will say things like, instead of saying embrace the process, say, well, look, focus on the results, like focusing on a pizza. Whereas if you focus on the process, that's like focusing on different pizza all the time. So
Yeah, I
many
remember
different
that
kinds of
part.
pizza instead of just one pizza at the end. So yeah, that's talking my language.
He does mention pizza a lot.
Yeah. Quite morbidly he talks about in terms of, getting to know your why and stuff. Start out with figuring that, you're going to die, which is a
Hmm.
bit morbid, but as somebody who's a bit older, I can identify with it better. Your time is limited. Probably
Hmm.
my time as a runner is, a lot more limited than yours is. So create a perspective which is, not about, well, if I don't get the gold medal at the next race, it sucks and life's really bad. Have a bigger perspective and really understand why you're running,
Yeah, I think he
which is
mentions this
great.
in the book, but he like I think there was a section that talked about something like, when people are towards the end of their life, they're always happy because
Yes.
they kind of don't sweat the small stuff, I guess,
Hmm.
is the easier way to say it. Like they don't worry so much about what other people think about them. They do things that they enjoy because they enjoy them. So I guess his message is sort of like, if you, by looking at sort of the fact that you're only going to be alive for a period of time, it's sort of supposed to put things into perspective, that it's supposed to help you find out, what you want and why you want it.
In terms of creating the right perspective, there's a lot of parallels with management type books. Stephen Covey, in his 7 habits of highly effective people, he says, nobody on their deathbed ever says, well, I wish I'd gone into work on that weekend where I didn't go in. I wish I'd gone in, and I wish I'd worked harder at the office. They have a different perspective, and it's a much more meaningful perspective. And I think David and Megan Roche try to encourage us to have that around our running,
Mm-hmm. Yep. So
so that each
the
day when you go out training, you enjoy it, I guess. It's
basically,
the idea.
yeah, which um which is important because races are, especially if you're running a marathon. I mean, if you run a marathon, you're maybe running two a year, and you have to train like
Yeah, and then
300 days.
you get injured just before one, so you get one a year, or yeah.
Yeah. So it's much better if you like the process. because you'll get more out of it. The third, so that was basically the first
First two
part of
rules:
it. Yeah, the first.
one, embrace the process; two, understand why.
Yeah, for
Um,
yourself. And then the
yeah,
third one was power yourself with kindness. So, um, what they were talking about in that section was basically the community, and like to be kind to yourself and be kind to other runners. And of course, they're competitors. And when you're racing, it's a race. You're not going to let somebody win because they're your friend. But at the same time, once the race is over, you want to be kind to yourself, kind to others, and encourage everybody because of their own, whatever they've achieved with their own running. Sort of be supportive of each other. And I find that like that is very common in the running community in
yeah.
general.
People are driven by their time or their last achievement or their PR, and if they don't achieve it, they view themselves negatively. Sometimes I think.
Hmm.
I
But
mean,
at the same time,
you know
they
people like
view.
that.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Like sometimes I'm very bummed when like I don't achieve my goal. But at the same time, like as much as we put pressure on ourselves, a lot of times we'll encourage others. Like have you ever noticed that? You'll sort of, if I run, I don't know. If I run 41 minutes for a 10K, I'll be like disappointed, and you'll say, "Oh no, that's good." And if I run 41 minutes for a 10K and you run 42 minutes for a 10K, I'll be like, "Oh yeah, that was a good job. Like you ran hard for that race." But yet at the same time, I don't accept my own 41 minutes for the 10K. So I
Yeah,
think we're all
I'm
we're
not
all,
sure whether it was this book that taught me a lesson that I've learned just over the last month, and I've tended to use it with a few people, which is if it was your best friend, your experience, if it was your best friend's experience, how would you respond to them? And you'd respond to them saying, "Hey, it's okay. You might have an off day. It's no big deal. Your training's going well," or it's one blip, or it could be anything.
mm-hmm.
You're good. You're good, and you wouldn't hesitate to say that to a friend. But then when it's you don't say that to yourself,
Nope.
which is kind of like, why wouldn't you? Because why wouldn't you treat yourself like your own best friend effectively?
Yeah, I think that's kind of what he's trying to make us do.
Because
Uh,
if you do, it's much easier to go out again the next day and have another go.
yeah, especially, I mean, you don't want to spend all your time beating yourself up. I mean,
but
got to get
but
on with training and
yeah,
try again.
for sure. But as I said to somebody yesterday, it's not all a big ball of moonbeams and unicorns. Um, the reality bites, and he does talk about that. The fact that it's not always as easy as just going, "Oh, life's wonderful." You have to work at it.
Hmm. So there was a section that essentially I don't think they said it this way, but it kind of came out to being the same sort of thing. But like in I remember when I was going to do my first stage, someone had told me something like, "Oh, you just gotta fake it till you make it," because I was
Yeah,
kind of nervous about going to this
yeah.
this environment, and I wanted to have a good impression, and I'm trying to get ready for my career after school, and so I would be super nervous. And I think it was another student had said like, "Well, you know what they say, fake it till you make it." And he kind of says something similar in the book where you can sort of practice being nicer to yourself, or you can practice being
Try
nice to
try try
others.
to try to have a default, which is like
Hmm.
their dog,
Yes.
which is everything's fantastic, and the dog talks to us in the book in big bold capital letters all the way through, and usually it says, very positive things,
Hmm.
whether you deserve them or not. just by being there, you deserve them. So
Yeah.
the dog gives you all this unconditional appreciation. His dog's kind of the role model for practicing positive outlook.
Yeah, I know in the last part of the first section, they also talk a little bit about the things that are that can be, not all. I mean, he titles it "Not All Puppies and Unicorns,"
Whatever. Yeah.
but he talks about like mental health issues, um, and they have four
They're
key
on fights with
principles.
stress. They're on fights with stress. Yeah.
Hmm.
And and
And they
potential for
actually
eating
developed.
disorders as well.
Yeah, they talk about that, but they also developed like a four key principles around mental health issues. So
Yeah.
SWAP as a team has these four principles. So
Okay.
eliminate self-judgment,
Yeah.
understand any triggering events that can cause issues, reinforce that all
All food is good
food is
food.
good food. So I guess that's for the
And
for eating disorders,
people who are
but
worried about
also
their weight. Yeah.
yeah, which I guess is common in runners because it's a it's a power to weight
Sport.
ratio sport. And then you're not alone, so that's that principle is sort of like that no matter how you feel, there's somebody else that
Yeah.
has felt or that is feeling that way as well.
And use your community, use your club, use your friends.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be surprised at how much positive reinforcement they give you.
Yep,
Sometimes much more than you give yourself.
that's why teams are good.
Okay, so that was part one, and that was the major part, in fact, of the book. Um,
Yes, I think it was more than half the book
yeah,
was part one. Yep,
and
about.
then part two moves on to what you said earlier, the happy runner training principles, where he talks about specifically principles, not plans for training, but the aspects of training. The idea being that you really have to build your own plan. He's not going to tell you a plan. He doesn't know how good a runner or how mature a runner or how experienced a runner you are. But there are some key principles which he lays out, which are good, I think.
And he does give some little examples throughout the book. So some like he'll say, oh well, when this runner started with our club, we gave her this many of this thing to do
Yeah.
as a workout. So he does give some examples, but yeah, more principles. So the first one was easy means easy, not absence of pain, which
Yeah.
refers to easy runs.
Yeah. And easy being easy in terms of effort. So, what's easy for Eliud Kipchoge might not be easy for me, for
No,
example.
might
Although
be.
we're about the same pace, I think, when we're asleep.
Yeah,
um,
exactly.
so yeah, easy means easy. He says if you want a training plan, here's some references, and he gives a whole bunch of highly reputable references where you can go off to another book.
All the
Like,
classics like
yeah,
Daniel's Running Formula by Jack Daniels, Science of Running by Steve Magnus. Steve Magnus has a podcast as well. Running to the Top by Arthur Lydiard. Like these are all the people that sort of
the classics.
built, yeah, the
Yeah,
classics of training theory. Then there's The Lore of Running by Tim Noakes and Run Faster from the 5K to the Marathon by Brad Hudson. So those are the books that he says like that he's read that he finds are good for training.
and then what he says was, in terms of easy effort, not pace. Have at least one rest day per week. Don't drive yourself into the ground. Start your easy run slow rather than fast easy. You can always speed up at the end and do as many easy miles as you can fit in, growing your easy mile process. And he says, try to get from 20 to 40 and then to 60. I guess that's probably miles per week.
Yeah, I
So
think
that's
it's
getting you up
miles.
to 100k weeks. Says after that, you're going to be topping out if you're other than some ultra runners. You probably got as many as you need in terms of running. and do a long run, but easy long run, but not more than 20 to 40% of your overall maximum volume. There's no point in having no volume during the week and then trying to cram it all into one long run.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Which
not going to help you.
yeah, which some people do. Some people like will train for a marathon and they'll go on the Saturday long run and run 30K, but their volume for the whole week is 60K. So
Yeah.
it's a little too long for the long run, according to this book, but other books as well.
And what they say is that, strangely enough, if you can put that volume of easy running in with the long run, it will actually make you faster.
Hmm. I think
Whereas you
he
think,
mentioned.
"Oh, I got to run fast. I've got to run fast to get faster." Well, depending on where you are on the curve, you can run a lot of slow miles, and then suddenly you're getting stronger, and you'll get faster.
I think he mentions because it helps with your running economy, so you'll get more efficient.
So on to principle two. Principle two, correct me if I'm wrong, Liz, is learn to run fast before practicing running hard.
Yes, that was it. So in this one, he actually says that in order to run fast, like he means really run fast. So very short. He calls them strides.
So short
Um,
bursts.
Yep. So little short bursts, and this is what he gives for. So he says two things. When he has a new runner, apparently he gives them these strides. So a stride is anywhere from 15 to 30 seconds fast and not like, so you want to be running fast but not so fast that you're not controlling your form and you're kind of all over the place. You still want to feel in control. So what he says is like you should be able to jog after your stride, not be sort of like keeled over after your stride. And then you might have anywhere between 1 and 3 minutes jog recovery, and you would do like he makes he you can work up to, I think the most I saw in that section was 30-second strides, and you can do 10 to 15 of them with 30 seconds rest. I think that's like the most you would work up to, but he says to
Do
run
less to
strides.
begin with, and then build them and build them in. Yeah.
Exactly. So you do just a whole lot of like you do easy miles and then you do these strides 2 to 4 times a week or something like that. And then, gradually afterwards, once you've done that for several weeks, he actually gives a sample workout. He calls it sample economy build in week one. So basically each week he'll have the person doing strides twice. So in week one, 6 times 20 seconds uphill strides with 2 minutes easy, and then 8 times 20 seconds uphill strides with 2 minutes easy. Anyway, so you progress until in week 5, 10 times 30 seconds fast on the flat and 1 minute easy. And he even talks about that. He says he starts people on the hills because it tends to be less stressful, so you won't get injured, but then you need to run also on the flat because that's really your maximum velocity, and so you need to practice that as well because going uphill is always going to be slower. So going uphill is sort of like power, and then the flat strides will help you with your raw speed. So he has people do both.
Fantastic. For me, this principle number two, learn to run fast before running hard. For me, this was the big aha moment of the book.
Mm-hmm.
And I've found this really useful in the 10K preps that we've been doing, these virtual 10K runs that we've been doing just recently, because it kind of connects to running rewired that we spoke of a few weeks ago, in terms of rewiring your brain. So by running fast while you still have energy, you're teaching yourself to run fast properly with an
Mm-hmm.
economy and with a positioning and a stride and an efficiency which you can work on because you're not too tired. And then you get better at that and more accustomed to doing that. And it kind of rewires you up a bit. And then when it comes to the hard times, you've got a better economy. And
So
I'm,
he actually mentions that a lot of people have untapped potential right there just by doing strides.
yeah, that's why I was interested to understand it, because I'm certainly not going to improve my VO2 max any anymore. In fact, it's probably going to just get gradually worse. So I need to get my benefit from somewhere. And I went, wow, this is a gold mine. Well, actually, to begin with, I thought, no, no, I'm not convinced. And
You're
then
such a skeptic.
what can I say? I'm a grumpy old guy, I don't believe anything. Don't believe what you read. And then I saw the example. I don't know whether you were going to talk about that, but the example of Andrew Skirker, who was 36, that he said was
Oh,
30, a
yes.
36-year-old guy who was running a 2:44 marathon. So he's 36. He's probably getting towards the end of his career, and he's very fast. He's already very fast. He's probably gotten to his VO2 max. He's never going to be able to push it any further at 36 years old at that speed. But actually, they worked on his fast running and short strides and developing his chain, and that it within 1 year he got from having being 244 and having maxed out to actually getting under 230, which 228 1 year later,
Yeah,
which
that's
which is
impressive.
mind blowing.
It
It's
is mind blowing.
absolutely mind blowing because this
Es-
guy is not a beginner.
hmm
He's
Especially
already
when,
maxed out.
yeah, especially when you're at a time like 2:44 in the marathon. I mean, 2:44 is pretty quick.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
you know,
every minute after every minute you get off your marathon after that is got to be really hard worked for. As
hmm
you know, at the 3 hour mark, you're kind of hovering around
yeah.
305. You got to get 5 minutes off. That's a
Yep.
lot.
It is. It is. It is. I'm gonna,
It'll be done before the end of the year though,
hopefully we'll be running in Toronto.
and maybe Andrew's giving. I mean, well, the example of Andrew, but David and Megan are giving us the secret there. That's what I thought
Maybe.
anyway. That was the real, for me, that was the real, the little angels are singing and
hmm
hallelujah moment. Principle 2, learn to run fast before practicing running hard. It doesn't seem, intuitively, it doesn't seem like correct.
No,
But when
because
you
a
look at
lot of
it,
times.
secret sauce, I think,
hmm
certainly from my point of view.
Yeah, because I know like a lot of people will say, just in our running club, even, the older runners, they'll have a tendency to be like, oh, I don't want to do speed because I'll get injured. But like actually you're really missing out
Yeah, if you go for
if
30 seconds, what you do is you get body programming rather than
hmm
exhaustion.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. Um it actually it kind of brought me back as well because we used to do strides with the old team that I was with. So I it kind of reminded me that, oh yeah, those are kind of important.
Oh, we used to get pro coaching, so John knew what he's talking about. Okay, principle
Yes.
3, build strength from speed. So this is once you've got your speed worked out. Principle 3 is now starting to build in your strength, which is, I assume it's talking about tempo runs. They take trouble to emphasize that this should be very much the minor, building in the strength run should be the minor part of your training program.
Yeah, they say.
Quite a nice phrase is your training is a dance, not a fight. So you don't go battle your training. You should practice your moves and then enact your moves in a formal manner. But he describes the sorts of aspects of building strength. I think I don't know if you have the list.
I have the swap approach. Is that the maximize total aerobic volume?
Yeah, that being 80%.
Yes, 80%. And
Yeah.
then I have here the swap approach, which is maximize the total aerobic volume, and then year-round emphasis on speed endurance. So strides 1 to 4 times a week. So even in the periods where you're doing more specific work to whatever event you're doing, you should even be doing strides like at least once a week. And then long runs count as quality. So actually, in the sort of when he talks about kind of putting it all together, there's only really 2 workouts a week. If you look at the weeks, he really, that they don't do like 3 workouts, and the long run counts as quality. So then you have like one other workout in there somewhere.
So he's going to have even less something of substance, even less than Hanson's marathon plan.
Yeah. Except I think that sometimes the long runs have something in it, like some kind
Hmm.
of not just purely a run, but also with a little bit of tempo or something in there. I think
So if you're
is
doing a hard tempo run, you should be doing relatively few times, and most of your volume should be easy runs with speed bursts.
mm-hmm. Yeah. And so yeah, he talks about rest from running consistently. So that's the other thing. There's always a rest day in every week. He never has like he doesn't have runners that are running every day for like weeks on end, which sometimes like runners that have come to his team had been running consistently,
Yeah.
like they don't do a rest day. Uh so there should be a rest day
Again,
and
just
also
because you're
rest
feeling that it's
periods.
hard and that you're getting tired, it doesn't mean it's working for you. Maybe you
Exactly.
can't bring the quality at the moment that you have to in your training because you're too tired.
Mm-hmm. Okay, do not overemphasize specificity is one of their principles. So he says like things that are the training that's specific to the event is not as important as we might think. So
That's
he
principle
says,
four.
yeah,
Effectively, that bridges into principle four. Specificity is matters, but not as much as you think.
no, and actually he had broken it down into how many weeks you would do each one, and I think a specific phase is only between 3 and 8 weeks for a goal event. And
Hmm.
then I think I remember him saying in the book that a lot of his runners, like they're not on the 8 week end of things. It's more like somewhere in the middle of.
That's quite
Uh,
surprising. He says only for A races as well.
mhm.
Don't even look to get too specific. I guess he's talking about professional type athletes with A races. I don't have A races. I just have races I've paid to enter. That's it.
No, but you have a races. Like let's say you had
Maybe a marathon or
yeah, when you have a
a
marathon,
trail
that's for
event.
sure. It's for sure your A race
Yeah.
because
Yeah, I
that's a
guess it
big
is. I
deal.
guess it is.
Yeah. And then when you're
Sounds a grandiose word for it, but you're right.
yeah, that's pretty much what he means is like so when you're when you're gearing up your training plan towards a race, you'll have chosen one race. And probably if you're running a marathon, it's the marathon because it's long. And why would you just do a marathon like for the
Hmm.
fun of it? Because there's so much recovery after. And then on the way to the marathon, you can do other races in there, like a half or a 10 or whatever you want to do, but you wouldn't necessarily do the specific training or like a taper or anything like that. You would just kind
Yeah.
of run the race a bit like running a really hard workout.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I think if I was doing a marathon, I would probably take Hanson's program, but then I would apply all the principles that David and Megan Roche give us, so that I could do the Hanson program with the right attitude and not overstress myself and have a pleasant experience and enjoy the journey. Have many different flavors of pizza.
See, that's why reading lots of books is great
Yeah.
because then you get something out of every book.
Well, you do. Certainly the speed before strength is fantastic for me.
You might squeeze out another like 15 minutes off your marathon. Maybe you're going to go sub 3 again.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Oh,
But maybe
I
I'm
could.
going to PR for the last 10 years or something. Maybe I'm going to do a new PR for 10 years. We'll see. Keep the fingers crossed. Principle 5. Healthy running is active and earned. So they take time to point out that the body really knows stress, not miles. So if you have a lot of stress in your life, you might find that the miles that you've planned are a lot harder than they would otherwise be. And if you can get some stress out of your life, maybe you can do more miles more easily, or recognize that you have more stress in your life and don't push your training program the way maybe you would normally do, because it's going to lead to injury. And then how's that helping you, basically?
Yeah, exactly. Um, and also, you need to get sleep and eat enough, and do your extras, like all your extra exercises and rolling and rehab kind of activities to stay healthy. So he does mention that. And I know there was a section about sort of like eating disorders in runners, and because running is very much a power to weight ratio kind of sport,
Said
skinny.
if you get skinny, you can be fast in the short term, then you get injured.
Hmm. Then you
Stress
get injured.
fractures, all sorts of problems. Better to eat what you need to eat. You'll be faster in the long term because you'll be fueled for your work, and you won't get injured.
Exactly.
Pass me those pizzas.
I don't know. Pasta's more my go-to. Pizza. I like pizza, but I don't think I like it as much as David and Megan because they
Uh,
talk about pizza a lot in their book.
they seem to like pizza a lot, don't they?
They do.
Just endeared me to them even more. In conclusion, and I know David, this is probably David speaking. In conclusion, they say that you are awesome, you're enough, and you're awesome, and that you're awesome. I know that's David talking because I sent him an email and he replied to me, "That's excellent, you're awesome," and that was the first thing he said to me ever on an email. Um,
That's
so
amazing.
so that proves he's walking the talk. And they end with saying, really, just believe in yourself, that they believe in you, which is a good message. And I think it's a very up book, and it has some great points and messages in it. We've also road tested the book against your partner, who is a bit book averse. So we gave him the
Oh,
book. We gave him the book,
yes,
and
Andre has
Andre,
I'm impressed. I mean, he reads a lot of articles and things, but books not as much. And I think when did he start reading the book? Was it on the weekend? And he's already like, I'd say a third of the way through. He's just, and sometimes I
is
just
he
see
reading
him,
all the big words?
yeah,
Not
like
skipping the big
awesome.
words?
I'm telling you, and he really likes. He also found out that David Roche was a Hoka sponsored athlete,
He's a big
so
Hoka fan.
it was like
Yeah.
it was a match made in heaven. He just,
Okay. But
he
I think what that tells us is that it's a very readable book.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
we're both book nerds. If you give us a book, we'll go, "Oh, great! Oh, it's got lots of technical terms. Excellent! Oh, it talks about having fun when you're running. Oh, excellent! Oh, it talks about how to dress to run in the rain. Excellent!" We're just such
Yeah,
nerds.
yeah.
So sometimes it's
Or like
difficult to know whether
it's talking about sports performance and nutrition research. Excellent.
just love it. Um,
But yeah,
so it's
Andre
hard
is
to tell
less.
sometimes if the book is really good or not. It's just us.
But yeah, it seems to be really good because Andre is just eating it up. He's
That's good.
just sometimes, like last night it was him. He was like, oh, can we do some reading, because sometimes we'll watch something on, well, we don't have real TV, but sometimes we'll find something on YouTube that's interesting or whatever. And yesterday he was like, can we just read? And I was like, okay. And he just
Wow.
took out his Happy Runner book, and he was happily reading. And today I finished work, and he was sitting outside in front of the house reading his book,
So
just
that's a
like
great
that.
segue into the section of just general comments on the book.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of the book overall, it's very readable. That's what we conclude from that. It's a nice, big, friendly-looking book. I mean, it's got this huge, big smiley face on the front.
I
Um,
like that.
yeah, it reminds me of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which has "Don't panic" in big letters on the front, to be reassuring to you. This one has a huge smiley face. So, it's a nice, soft-back book, nicely presented. Has black and white photographs at the start of each chapter, usually featuring Megan and David and their dog Addie in some kind of pose. So it's I think it's a nicely put together book by Human Kinetics. Doesn't have any color maybe in it. Doesn't have any color photographs, those kind of things.
No, there aren't too many photographs though. It's really just at the beginning of each chapter, and I like the photographs. It made me feel almost, well, with the combination of the photographs and then their sort of personal stories
Yes,
of their running
you felt like
journey
you
and
knew
their,
them.
yeah, I felt like by the end of the book, I almost felt like I had met them in person, but
Call them up and go
hadn't.
for a run.
Yeah.
Yeah. The book's very much, I think, for our audience, the book's very much a mindset first book, in terms of, not dealing with training plans per se, just principles of how you approach your running and then principles of how you approach your training. But it does that excellently well, I think, with great information, good humor, a good spirit, not too serious. But if you think, well, if it's not very serious, can I take it seriously? There are a series of examples throughout the book that show that you can take it seriously and you should take it seriously. We talked about one particular example, but there are a number of different examples.
Yeah.
Claire Gallagher in Finding Her Why, about
Mhm.
her environmental consciousness. Kat Bradley in terms of coming from nowhere and rejigging her mentality and coming from nowhere and winning Western States in 2017. Um,
When it was her long-term goal, it wasn't even
yeah, it
supposed to
was
be
her
in
long-term goal. She did it in
2017
the first year
in the
she
first
tried.
year.
So super from that point of view, I think. The takeaway for me from a running aspect was lots and lots of easy miles, but the absolute thing, build efficient speed before you try to go hard on your runs. Because if your
Mhm.
speed is efficient, you're going to be able to deliver on those hard runs without smashing yourself. And also because you're doing a lot of easy runs and just practicing your form, it's pleasant. It's pleasant. It's fun.
It
It,
is.
it's different flavors of pizza all the time.
I can see you two are kindred spirits on the pizza. So what would you give it as a rating? 1 to 5.
I think I'll give it 4.5 altogether. Maybe missing a little bit of technical detail for me and some color photographs.
Okay. Okay.
So
I
apart from that, I mean, it's pretty excellent.
Yeah, I find that well, in general, you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but I kind of like, if it wasn't for the fact that you had read it first, I didn't really know what to think of this book with this giant smiley face on the front cover.
Yeah, can you
But it
take it
does,
seriously?
but the title did say runner, and I like running books, so I'm willing to give anything a try. But I knew in advance that it was going to be a good book because you had sort of read it, and I knew you liked it. So, but yeah, the cover, I like it because it really fits the book. But if I had just seen it on a bookstore shelf, I don't know that it would have really, like, I wouldn't have known what to think about it. But you should never judge a book by its cover anyway. So that would have been my loss.
Yeah,
um,
I think I was saying, well, can I take it seriously? Does it? I'm a
mhm.
scientist, so I then go, does it have references in the back that kind of back up what it says in the book? And it doesn't.
No,
And I
but he
thought,
ref he
but in the
references it.
middle, he references some stuff
Yeah, and
as we
he
go.
he uses his own experience, I find, as kind of a reference, because
Yeah.
he'll be like, we do this, and then he'll say it works because this person
Yes. Look at this.
all of a
Yeah.
sudden won the Western states, so I find that in that way it sort of references
It
itself.
does.
um and
So
then he gives a
something that I
list of
noticed
books.
as well is that there's a continuing education exam credit you can get. You can take an exam in the book.
Oh, that's interesting.
I don't know if that's part of Human Kinetics, the publisher's program, or but there was a reference to if you'd like to take a credit, maybe it's part of a coaching education process. I'm not sure, but
Oh,
that
maybe.
lends a bit of seriousness to what on the front looks like a slightly frivolous book. Frivolous is a bad word. It sounds, a more soft book maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're put off because you think, well, maybe this is not a real running book, I would say wrong.
Yeah.
It might sound like that, it might seem like that, but it's not. And in fact, it might just make you feel like that because it's pointing to the thing that you really need to improve, that you've been denying for some time, or you've had a blind spot for some time. That's what I would say. So to that
Mm-hmm.
extent, I would say, give it a go.
Yeah, me too. I definitely say that. I had to get over the first few times that that basically they're telling me that I am awesome, because it's sort of like, I don't know, it's all over the place in the first few chapters, but yeah, if you give it a chance, I mean, the ideas in it are good, and they're solid. You do need to be, as a runner, sort of not so hard on yourself, because it doesn't help your running in the end. And their training principles are, they're solid. They're what you'd expect, and they have the results to prove it. So definitely credible on all those levels.
How many points?
I would also give it a 4.5, not quite for the same reason. For me, I think it was the "you are so awesome" in the first few chapters that I had to
Okay.
sort of get over, but like, I understand where it's coming from.
But you are awesome,
I'm
Liz.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't
So you
know.
don't believe it. He
It's
has to tell you lots of times, otherwise you don't believe it.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe that's it.
Okay, that's great. Okay, any closing
Perfect.
points? Any closing points on Happy Runner? Thank you, Human Kinetics, for the review book, and thank you, David and Megan Roche, for putting the book together. We look forward to watching your exploits as you go on throughout in your running careers, your coaching careers, and if there are any other books, we look forward to seeing those down the track.
And
For sure.
definitely give this book a try if you weren't really sure about it, because I think we both kind of were unsure about certain things about this book, and yeah, it's a good book.
So if you like the podcast, or even if you don't, go and leave us a comment or a message on Running Book Reviews Facebook page.
So our Facebook page is Running Book Reviews. Our Instagram is also Running Book Reviews. It's got the same little on Instagram. Our profile picture is the same logo, and we also have. You can also just go and see the podcast episodes as they come out on the Buzzsprouts
Website, or
podcast
just leave a comment.
website.
Leave a comment on iTunes or Spotify, or whatever your favorite medium is. And we'll get back to you with another review very soon. Thanks for joining us. Till next time.